Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of That's What She Said. And like we do every week, we spill the tea. This week, we are spilling the tea all over the place. All over the place. Honestly, we have so much to cover, and I'm just really excited to share this guest with everyone. But kind of want to backtrack a little bit. First of all, last week, amazing. Thank you to everyone who is sharing the videos and sending me messages and just creating more dialogue. That's fantastic. But last night, I participated in a community conversation, and the dialogue was, lack of better words, fire. I think we can go there. The dialogue was fire. There was conversation about community and city and having passion, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And then everybody walked away happy and content. And when I was reflecting on that this morning, I thought it's all about being brave enough to have that conversation, to be able to step up and say, this is my opinion, and you might have the same opinion of someone else in the room. So just being brave, and that leads to growth, which our current guest today is all about growth and opportunity and seizing the moment, but more importantly, about choices. So today we have in front of us a Miss Abbie Pedroti. Hi, Abbie.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here and share some of your very unique experiences, but also experiences that a lot of people can relate to, right?
Yeah.
So Abbie is, she's a very good friend of mine. Abbie's a very good friend of mine. And for a few years now, how long have we known each other?
2020. We met
Wow.
in
Yeah,
2020.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So 4 years, Abbie and I have been good friends. And I have had the privilege to, like I said, watch her grow as a person.
Mhm.
So Abbie is, she's a small business owner. She's a freelance writer. She contributes to columns all across the Great Lakes Bay region. Abbie, can you tell us a little bit about your writing style, where you contribute to, and a little bit about yourself?
So I do work for Saginaw Township Living. So I'm a content coordinator for there, which has been awesome because I've gotten to meet people in the community. I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from the Thumb. So that's been cool. So Saginaw Township Living. I also write for the Michigan Banner. I've been writing my whole life pretty much. I was always like, if we were somewhere and there was like a notebook, I'd always ask my mom to buy me the notebook, and I would just fill notebooks. I actually started writing fiction, and just recently, I would say probably the last 2 or 3 years, have gotten into like copywriting and then writing more journalistically, which has been awesome. And I liked storytelling in general. Just
Storytelling.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's a cool buzzword that's happening right now.
Yeah.
So where did that passion of writing come from?
I've always had an overactive imagination. Like I said, I'm from the Thumb, and more specifically Harbor Beach, and we have I grew up just right on Lake Huron. Like my dad's house is right on Lake Huron, in the woods. And so I used to just kind of walk around in the woods as a kid and talk to the trees. And I was definitely a weird, imaginative kid. And I just started kind of, like I said, I write fiction, everything from fantasy and all of that, and then more like professional journalistic writing. But I like to learn new things and then kind of condense the new things that I learn and send that out to other people so they can learn too.
In storytelling format.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you were a child, I'm picturing you now. I'm a very visual person. I'm picturing you sitting in the woods as in high school or middle school, high school, with a notebook, just writing out stories.
Mhm.
So what were some of those things that led to the stories that you wrote?
Nature, definitely. I'm a nature fanatic for sure. And then just kind of, being a teenage girl is an experience all in and of itself. So I found a lot of outlet for trauma and just like the confusion that goes on as a teenage girl. I found a lot of, relief from that, or just being able to take what's up here and it's all scrambled and just kind of put it onto a page and pull it out and turn it into something that I can maybe make sense of.
That's a form of art.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Writing would be considered a form of art.
And therapy.
And therapy. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that is really interesting to think of it in that aspect. So this is also self-help for you. That's what I'm hearing.
Definitely.
Okay. So
definitely.
So you've managed to take a hobby as a kid and kind of pivot that into something where it's now a job.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a job, which is always good. I love.
Why do you say that?
It just doesn't. I'm trying to think of like a recent example of something that I've written that. Oh, so I wrote a piece for the Michigan Banner on the silos, and that did not feel. It felt like I was telling. I went to the ribbon cutting, and then I wrote about what I saw there, and I talked to Okuda, the artist, and I kind of just put what I learned onto a page, and that was my job to do that, but it didn't feel like work. It felt like I'm telling a story about something cool that happened in our community, in our little bubble.
So how do you feel about that when community members are like, what do you do for a living? And you're saying, this is what I do for work, but it doesn't feel like work. What do you think that other community members think when you say something like that?
I think, what do I think other community members think when I say that what I do doesn't feel like work?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that they would look at what they're doing for work and say, well, does this feel like work? Like, is this what I meant to be doing? Is this what I want to be doing? Because I think, and obviously some of it is necessity, if your job feels like work and you have to be there to provide for your family, that's different. But I think just that self-reflection of like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? And I want my life to look like getting to write about a cool mural.
Yeah.
And that's my job.
Yeah.
Like that's
a unique opportunity.
Exactly.
So in the future, do you plan on kind of navigating and, essentially, feeding into this position?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I hope to nurture the my skills as a writer. I think that's another cool thing about being a writer and an artist in general, and with any job you have. But I think particularly as a writer, the more you read, the better writer that you become. And I'm a voracious reader, so I'm always improving my writing through that. But I think, it's just there's constant ability to grow. And I love that about it.
Can you share a little bit about how reading affects your writing personally?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I read almost only fiction. When I do read nonfiction, it's usually like true crime. I'm a true crime junkie. So a lot of times when I'm almost always working on some sort of fiction novel. I've got like 2 novels right now that I've been writing for like a couple years. It's just a hobby that I do on the side. But I tend to, like, if I'm writing a mystery, that I tend to read more like, Lisa Jewell comes to mind as an author, but more like in that genre that I'm writing at the time. Not necessarily to copy, but art imitates art, right? Art imitates life. So I definitely think I learn as I read. So I'm trying to think of what I'm reading right now.
It sounds like you're inspiring yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're inspiring yourself. So I know a lot of artists, because I have a fine arts background, a lot of artists will go into nature, which you said.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going into nature, you're exploring books. I'm sure you're at the library, you're ordering books.
Oh, yeah.
And I imagine, just a room full of books, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that's you surrounding yourself by the things that fuel you, that educate you, that you love.
Exactly.
So what are some other things in your life that you use to nurture this skill?
I think just self-care. I'm sure that throughout the rest of this hour, you'll hear me say the words self-care pretty often. I'm pretty passionate about self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup. There's like a million of those little phrases, but if you don't take care of yourself, like, you can't take care of anything else. So I've in the last couple of years definitely started nurturing a better relationship with myself. And my writing there's like a pinpoint of my writing has improved since focusing more on taking care of myself. So, I like to lift, I like to run, I walk a lot. And of course, running and walking, I'm outside. So I'm spending more time in nature. Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit. Let's take one step backwards and let's talk about, was there any formal education
No.
leading up to writing?
So no, I mean, in high school, but so all 4 years of high school, I had a plan. I'm going to go to Grand Valley State University. I'm going to study music education. I'm going to minor in English. I'm going to graduate with my bachelor's, and I'm going to go and I'm going to be a band director. That's what I wanted to do. It was I played the piano since I was 5, like huge music gal. Well, of course I had a plan, and I'm not a music director right now, so it didn't happen. But so I got to Grand Valley, and yeah, the plan just kind of imploded on itself a little bit, and I started really I had a pretty deep depression that kind of just overtook everything. And I dropped out of Grand Valley, and I thought, okay, something's wrong here. Like, I can barely get out of bed. This would have been, I graduated high school in 2016. So this would have been like 2016, 2017. And I ended up, my now husband and I, we ended up moving to Midland, thinking like, okay, we'll be closer to family. Maybe that will help. And I went and I started at Delta, and I never really pinpointed like, okay, where did that deep depression? It was just like, I couldn't figure out like, where did this come from? So I just kept working and trying to just, it'll go away. All the while just kind of neglecting myself, and ended up actually dropping out of Delta in 2020. And then, yeah.
No,
So no formal education. That was a long way of saying no formal education. I'm starting back in at Delta in next month.
Well, congratulations on that.
So I have 3 classes left, and then I'll have a general studies associate's degree. So I did change my major quite a lot. But eventually I would like to pursue a bachelor's in creative writing. So eventually I'll have formal education, but not right now.
And that's something that I keep hearing is more common, right?
Mm-hmm.
So either you're attending college and you have questions and doubts, and or either you attended college, graduated college, and you were miles away from what your degree is and what you're currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you were at Grand Valley, and you were like, this train is derailing, what were those red flags that you saw that kind of led to that? So say we have a listener who's just like, you know what, I'm not really, this isn't feeling right. Something's weird. What were some of those things that you saw ahead of time?
Definitely the not being able to get out of bed. Like, I would go to bed, I don't know, like 2 a.m, and then just kind of stay in bed, not really sleep. I was neglecting my health 100%. By the time I noticed that like there was a problem, I was 23, and I was like, oh, I don't feel 23. I feel like 30, 35, I don't. So I would say definitely the not getting out of bed. I would just like those basic care tasks that get you through the day. I wasn't keeping up on it. I was just autopilot. That word comes to mind. I felt like I was just on autopilot. I was work, school, home, work, school, home, work, school, home. And there wasn't, and your relationships suffer in that way as well. And your relationship with your partner, with yourself, with your family. And it was just, everything kind of slowly started to feel off.
Mm-hmm. Did you experience any hardships with family or friends during that time? Was there anybody that kind of just you left, or they left you?
Just isolation, I think mostly. I had moved 4 hours from home. So it was a lot of homesickness. So at first when I moved to Allendale, I'm from the Upper Thumb. So it's 4 hours. My now husband and I had just started dating, and he did not move there with me originally. So I was alone. And I grew up in a community where there's, I think, 1,500 of us in the whole town. Harbor Beach is very small. I graduated with like 60 people. And all of a sudden, like fish out of water, right? Like I I don't know anybody. I'm used to walking down the street, walking into the gas station. I know every single person that's in there. They know my mom's name, my dad's name. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I? Who am I? What's going on? And
Out of your element.
out of my element. And I started really struggling. I'd struggled with some eating disorder issues throughout my life. I think I've been on a diet, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
as I'm sure a lot of women can relate to. And I know a lot of people my age specifically, women my age specifically. I think my first Weight Watchers meeting, I was 10. So I never learned how to have an appropriate, proper, healthy relationship to food and eating and whatever. And so I got to college and I was alone. And I was finally like making my own food choices and trying to figure out what that looked like. And I had struggled through high school with this eating disorder. And then I got to college and I don't know a number of how much weight I gained my first year of college, but just that was when you say what was something that pointed towards the depression. I think that was part of it, was just, it was a lot of like, I don't think I cooked in my apartment like once. That whole, like, I was just a lot of fast food. I worked in a fast food place and then later at a convenience store. So it was a lot of like convenience foods and I felt it. Like I didn't feel good. My face was breaking out.
Do you think it was a comfort for you? You know, you're away from home, you're out of your element. You know what this food is.
Right.
You know, this is going to taste good. I'm going to be semi-satisfied when I'm done
Exactly.
with this bag of whatever.
Yep.
So
100%.
you were comforting yourself.
Yep.
And
Definitely.
probably not in the best way.
No. And then just not moving. I say now all the time, I'm sure my husband is tired of hearing me say it, movement is medicine, right? If you're feeling anxious.
Say that again.
Movement is medicine.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard someone
You've
say
never
that
heard
before.
that?
I've never heard you say it.
Really?
I've never heard someone
Considering
say
we're
that.
IRL friends, I'm surprised you've never heard me say, because I say it a lot, because I think, if we, I work an office job 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So it's hard for a lot of people to like move. But if you prioritize movement, I really do feel movement is medicine 1,000%. That first year at Grand Valley, that was the first time in my life I ever had anxiety. And it, like, part of it was so Grand Valley State University, if anybody's familiar, they're notorious for having awful parking. Like, they have all these new buildings, but we joke that like they put the new buildings on top of the parking lots. So I would have to park so far away
that's funny.
from my hall that I had class in or whatever, and then walk to class because I lived off campus. And I couldn't really like walk to class. Like, I would park by Mackinac Hall and then have to walk across campus, and I couldn't make it. By the time I got there, I was just like, so like, now I have to sit through class and then I have to walk back after. And just like the last couple of years, obviously, realizing like, oh, it's nice to be able to like walk around the farmer's market and not be thinking about, oh my gosh, my legs hurt, I'm winded, my knees hurt, everything hurts, I don't want to be walking, I need to sit. So I think movement is medicine, because movement allows us to move through the world a little bit more comfortably. And I think that's important.
Through the world, through time.
Yeah.
It through memories.
Yeah.
Wow. I really like that one. So let's use that. Let's use that as momentum. Movement is medicine. So I know that I brought you on so that way you could share to the listeners what I know about you. So, like we established, I've known you for about 4 years. And the Abbie I met 4 years ago is not the Abbie who's sitting in front of me today. So one of those things is a testament to time, that people can evolve. And in whichever way helps them evolve into a better person. So movement is medicine. How did you use that mantra in the past 2 years specifically to move through life?
So October 7th, 2022, I don't want to get too hung up on like the actual weight, because the weight, like, I've lost a lot of weight, right? I've lost about 115 pounds in 2 years. And that number is at the beginning, it was so important, and now it's quite arbitrary. But October 7th, 2022, I weighed myself, and I was like, oh, I was a little shocked. I had avoided doing so for a while. And I was like, okay, well, something needs to change, obviously, because at the time, I would have been 23, 24. I was freshly married. I had been married the year before. And okay, like something needs to change. So I decided that day I'm going to go for a walk. I'm just going to go for a walk, start trying to get my steps in. We'll figure out the rest later. Right now, I'm just going to go for a walk. And I tried to go for a walk around my block, and I looked down at my watch. I was so tired. I was like, I had to have done 2 miles by now. Like, I'm so exhausted, quarter of a mile. And I was done. I was done. I walked back in the house. I remember I was panting, and my husband was like, nice, you went for a walk. Like, good job. And that day I was like, this is the last time I'm going to feel like this. That's it. Like, we're not neglecting ourselves anymore. I've done that enough. I've put, others over myself, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it was at my own expense. And that's done from today. So I always say, cause I had like you can track your workout like on your watch.
Yeah.
So it was tracked. So I can actually like look back on that walk and see like my pace and all of that from that day, which is really
When you
kinda
look
special.
back on that, and I'm sure you have, when you look back on that date and that momentous date,
Mhm.
how does that make you feel now?
Very proud and thankful, very grateful. Even when I look at pictures of myself from then, I've had to really, through therapy and journaling, I've had to really shift my mindset of looking at those old pictures and feeling shame of like, wow, I let myself to get to that point, and then instead look at that picture and say, that is the version of me who decided I'm going to go for a walk. Okay, I can't really go for a walk. I'm not going to feel like this anymore. And, people congratulate me on the weight loss, which is a little problematic in and of itself. But really, it's her. Like, she should be the one who's given the credit, because she's the one who, meal prepped every Sunday and got her butt to the gym every day and did those things even though they were terrifyingly scary. Like, that was her who did that. So I'm very grateful to her.
Do you consider yourself brave?
I don't know if brave is the right word. I think doing this is brave. I've been nervous about this. And I think I'm more brave now, and I think courageous. I'm a little bit more courageous now, because I have seen what I've done, and I'm like, well, I've done all that. I can go on. That's what she said. I can, stand up and have my voice heard. Like, I think so. I think I'm more brave now. Yeah.
Than 2 years ago, Abbie.
Yeah. But I think it took bravery to start, and to admit something needs to change.
Something needs to change.
Yeah.
So you said your husband was a supporter of this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So it
I
takes a
called
team.
him before this. He's my best friend, biggest supporter. 100%.
You have a really great life partner.
I do. High school sweethearts.
Wow.
I know.
That's
People are like,
adorable.
seriously, it's so cute. I was 17 when we started dating, and we've been together, I don't know, like 10 years. A long time. Yeah.
Yeah. But he is supportive about it.
He always says, he said it in the car when I called him, Abbie versus the world. He's like, Abbie versus the world. Abbie, I'm going to tear up because he's just such a sweetheart, and he's watching right now. He just really does make me feel like I can do absolutely anything, just absolutely anything. I'll kind of sometimes just tell him like, hey, I'm going to do this. And he's like, why are you making it seem like it's not a big deal? Like, that's crazy that you're doing that. Or like, I started running this year, and he's been, really just, oh my gosh, like, the day of my 5K, he was like a proud dad with his phone.
That's great.
Yeah, so,
that's great. So we talked about you as a writer. We talked about you as Abbie versus the world.
Abbie versus the world.
That is so cool. So we will be right back to dive a little deeper into Abbie and see what that daily ritual is that led her to the Abbie she is today.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
Hi, and welcome back. We have Abbie Pedroti with us, and she in my eyes, she is the definition of self-motivation. The definition of self-motivation. So that's my perspective. But as you're listening to the second half, I want you as a listener to think about that. Who is it? What is it? What in your life? What word is it that brings you self-motivation? Because to me, that's Abbie. That's Abbie. Thank you, Abbie, for being here today. I appreciate you
Thank you.
taking the time out of your day to talk about one of the things that you know best, which is yourself. Because when I text you and I'm like, hey, let's talk about protein, I get a text message that is scroll, scroll, scroll,
Or a voice memo.
or a voice memo that is minutes and minutes. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was a lot of information. So, in the last segment, we talked about, you as a writer and how you developed and, your next step into going to college. But in between then, you had this light bulb realization of let's take care of Abbie.
Mhm.
And I just heard you refer to past Abbie as she.
Mhm.
Why do you refer to past Abbie as someone else?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think past Abbie is, like I said, she's the one who made the decision to do all of the hard things that led me to here. So I think it's part of inner child work for sure as well. Because, thinking about like what did little Abbie, what did she need at the time? How can I give that to her now?
Wow. Nurturing. You said nurturing.
Absolutely.
Nurturing yourself. So what were some of the things that you had to learn to nurture yourself?
So one thing, and it's actually related to what you had said at the top of this, which was, did you call me the definition of self-motivation?
Yes.
So I think a lot of the time when people find out that I am very into fitness, very into, my health and that I've lost a significant amount of weight and whatever, oh, I could never have that motivation. That's always something I hear. Oh, you're so motivated. I could never be that motivated. And I think people get very hung up on motivation. Motivation is great, but it's not there at 5 in the morning in the middle of December when it's -7 degrees outside and you need to get your butt to the gym. There's no motivation there. There's motivation to go back to bed, but there's not motivation to get your butt to the gym.
So how do you do that?
Dedication.
Dedication
Over motivation, I think, is really important. Motivation, use it when you have it, right? Like if I really want to go for a run after this. So I'm motivated to go for a run. I want to go for a run. I know it's going to feel good. But I think dedication and just knowing like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go for a run. I don't want to meal prep, but it's going to make my life easier. It's going to make me feel so much better if I just do it. So being dedicated to taking care of yourself and making yourself feel good by doing those things that you don't always really want to do, but knowing that it's what's best.
So you're dedicating yourself to something.
Correct.
So what, in your eyes, what is that one thing? If we had to wrap it up into a couple words, what is that one thing that you have dedicated yourself to?
Oh, what is the one thing I've dedicated myself to? I feel that saying myself is, I'm sure there would be maybe people who would think that that's selfish, but I think it's the opposite because again, as I said, kind of at the beginning of this, you can't pour from an empty cup. And when you take care of yourself, you are also taking care of your career and your relationships and your friendships and your kids if you have them. And yeah, if you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. So I think that making sure that you are the best possible version of yourself isn't selfish. And so I would say that myself, I'm dedicated to taking care of myself so that I can take care of others.
So let's do a POV. The point of view of Abbie in her day. Can you just take us through that? Abbie's little eyes open in the morning, and what's the first thing Abbie does?
So the first thing that I do is I actually take my temperature. I know this is strange. So I do what's called cycle syncing. So as a woman, figuring out where you're at in the cycle and there's 4 phases. A lot of people focus on the one, but there's 4. And I really highly encourage women to figure that out because our hormones are at different levels. So your temperature can basically tell you like where your hormones are at.
Where your hormones are at. What was the term of, what is that called?
Cycle syncing.
Cycle syncing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll have to Google that later.
Yeah.
All right.
It's really great.
So you
just
take your
kinda-
temperature and that
Yep.
gauges where you are in your cycle. And then what's
Correct.
the next step?
The next step is very quietly, without waking my husband up, go to the bathroom and get my gym clothes on. I guess it starts before I go to bed because I want to be constantly setting myself up for success. So night before, the leggings, the socks, the gym clothes are on the bathroom counter, next to my phone where the alarm goes off, next to my glasses, next to my water, so that I am up and I can sit there and say, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm not going to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym, as I'm like putting my stuff on to go to the gym. So
That's interesting.
yeah,
That's interesting.
because even if you don't want to do it, you're going to do it. You're going to go, you're going to do it because you're going to feel better after. So just go do it. So you can complain to yourself the whole time, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it, but you're going to do it.
As you're prepping to
As
do
you're
the
prepping
thing
to
you
go do
don't
it.
want to do.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm going to take a pause and put a pin right there because that same concept, I feel like you could use that when you're going to work or going to
100%.
visit someone that you've
Yeah.
been putting it away and
Mhm.
kind of just not,
The
you
phone
know,
call you don't want to make. Yeah.
yeah. So you're setting yourself up for success. And
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're on your way to the gym. What time is it?
I wake up at 4:40, 4:50.
Okay.
So by the time I'm heading to the gym, I'm usually pulling up to it's right over there, Planet Fitness. I'm usually pulling up 5:15, 5:30,
So
sometimes earlier.
when you're in the gym, you're using this determination, self-motivation,
Mhm.
but have you had any other encounters with, people in the gym who have helped you along the way?
Oh, definitely. So I now consider her one of my best friends. I met her in the gym locker room, like at the very beginning of this. I want to say, so I started going to the gym. I started walking in October of 2022. I started going to the gym in December of 2022. To backtrack a little bit, initially I was so anxious, and I know people can relate to this. Like the gym anxiety is real. I feel it. But so I would drive to this is embarrassing to admit out loud. I would drive to the gym and I would sit in the parking lot and I'd be like, "Ugh," and I would cry. I can't go in. I'm so anxious. I can't go in. Finally got myself in there. So that's normal, right? Like gym anxiety is normal. So
Yeah,
I got
definitely.
there December of 2022. I met a girl in the locker room. She complimented my leggings and we've been working out consistently almost every day, every week ever since. And she'll tell me if I'm trying to do too much. She'll tell me, you can put more weight on that. Put more weight on that. Right now, she'll call me out.
That's really supportive.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. And she's like I said, it was December of 2022. So I was only like 2 months into this journey and now I'm here in 2024. And so she's literally watched like the growth in the gym and the growth in I can walk into the gym now and not feel a shred of anxiety.
wow.
Some days I do, some days,
Okay.
whatever. But for the most part, yeah, it's
A lot of times on the show, I refer to women or people around that woman who have created a ripple. So do you feel that this person in the gym created a ripple and you are now implanting that ripple on other people? And if so, how?
I think we've encouraged each other a lot, which is really important. Yeah, I think I definitely know that I've had people tell me like I started going for walks because I'm so inspired, and it's really crazy because if you would have asked me back when I was at Grand Valley State University and depression was just so deep and I would not have I lost 115 pounds. You're seriously? What? No way. So it's a little surreal, but yeah, I do think I've maybe inspired a couple people. And I think that's, yeah.
So does that ever come back to you? Like I said, someone maybe like that you are now that person that helped you. Are you that to anyone else or do you see that anywhere in your life?
I definitely would like to in the future. I think my husband, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he's doing his first 5K in September. I did my first 5K in June, and he has said before, well, I see that you can literally do anything, because like you've said I'm gonna do this and you've just done it, so like I can too. And he's we go out places and people comment on, oh my gosh, like Jacob, you look like a different person, because and part of that is having a spouse who's very into nutrition probably helps, because I cook all the meals. So I'm sure that helps a little bit too. But
you're both, getting the right
yeah,
protein,
exactly.
the
The macros, I'm balancing them for him.
Yes.
As much as he has encouraged and inspired me to be a better person, I think I like to think I've definitely inspired him as well. Yeah, my mom has mentioned that she said to me before, like, she's been swimming more, and she's older, so I can't believe I just said that. She's gonna be so mad that I said but you know what I
It's your
mean.
mom.
She's
It's
my
your
mom. So she's been she actually she used to be a marathon runner. She had an injury and isn't able to run anymore. But so she's mentioned before, like, yeah, I've been going to my local gym and swimming, and yeah, I've had
so you're inspiring people.
I think I am.
You
Yeah,
are.
I am.
You're so mild about it though. But yeah,
Mhm.
it sounds like you're inspiring people, and hopefully this conversation will be a conversation starter
I hope
for
so.
others
Mhm.
to take those first few steps and maybe just drive to the gym, or be just be a little more conscious about what they're doing. So movement is medicine, but what are other forms that you use
Mhm.
that you used and use to get to where you are today?
Nutrition is huge. Food is medicine too, right? And also food can be the opposite of medicine. Working in, like I said, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, I'm in healthcare. So working in healthcare, you see kind of what happens when our health is neglected. And of course, some things cannot be helped, but I think food and nutrition, especially with weight loss and especially with women, um, we are almost constantly, especially millennials, have been told, we get the commercials of the weight loss things, and there used to be that thing that you sprinkle on your food and it was supposed to, do you remember what I'm talking about? And I had like a
No.
theme song. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. All of the things, and told to make ourselves smaller and eat less. And how many times have you heard, we'll eat 1,200 calories a day and you'll lose weight? 1,200 calories is what a toddler needs. So I think
Okay.
really learning about nutrition and fueling your body and not punishing yourself.
What were some resources you used to learn about nutrition that we could share?
So one is my sister, because she is getting her master's degree in nutritional sciences. So that's been helpful.
That's nice.
You said I've texted you and sent you podcast voice memos about protein. The number of times that I'll text her and be like, do I weigh out chicken when it's cooked or when it's raw? What do I do? And she's never complained about having to help me. And she's been a huge help. Really learning about, okay, yes, like if you are trying to intentionally lose weight, the only thing you technically have to do is eat in a calorie deficit. And I really highly encourage people to research what that is, because I think we think, oh, we have to just eat nothing, skip breakfast, eat a teeny tiny little lunch, and then maybe like a piece of chicken and some rice for dinner. No, I'm eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not hungry. If you hear somebody say, oh, you have to go to bed hungry if you're trying to, no. So I think learning how to fuel yourself properly, protein is so important as women, especially as women. Under fueling is so damaging, especially, I keep saying as women, but especially to women. We were talking about cycle syncing, like that can throw off your hormones, right?
That's interesting. I guess I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a common thing. If you're,
Did you see a light bulb go off?
if you're overtraining under fueling, I mean, you can develop amenorrhea, where you essentially, you don't have a cycle. It can affect your fertility. I mean, and hormones, of course, affect our mood. So just protein, carbs, and fat, figure out a good balance there. There are so many free resources out there. I always recommend people, it's the TDEE calculator. So you basically put in how much you weigh, your age, whatever, all that stuff.
Sure.
And instead of spitting out a BMI, because we know
We know
BMI
about
is,
the BMIs. Yeah.
we've got Olympian athletes who their BMI, they're obese, right?
Yep.
So BMI is flawed. It helps you, and I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. I'm just somebody who figured this out along the way.
Yeah.
But it basically tells you how many calories do you need to consume in a day to maintain your current weight. Okay, so subtract a modest amount from that, eat that, you'll lose weight. There's no reason to just
So it's not just about losing weight. It's about getting yourself
correct.
in a healthy and happy position too.
Exactly.
So I know, but I would like you to share when you made the decision to make Abbie healthy and
Mhm.
happy, there was a mindset shift
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Mhm. I think the mindset shift was kind of what I was talking about, which is I can you can eat things that you love. You can go out and enjoy a barbecue, or you can go out to eat, whatever, but it's food is fuel. Um, and it's also social, right? It's cultural, it's social. So I think the mindset shift was just, how can I feed myself and fuel myself to feel my best? So 80% of what I eat is whole foods. So like lean,
And and you had that determination
yeah.
to make all these switches, to flip all of these switches.
Yeah.
So the determination came from what I'm understanding, the
Mhm.
timeline, the determination came from, some mental capacity that had been
Mhm.
met.
Mhm.
So is there something, excuse me, is there something that you're doing to lighten your mental capacity in other aspects of your life than, than your daily workout routine?
Boundaries.
Tell me about that.
Setting boundaries with people and saying no. I I think that I turned into a little bit of a yes man, where I wanted to be accepted so bad, particularly in high school. I just wanted to be accepted and liked so bad that I would just say yes. I would just say yes. You need help with this? Yes, I'll help you. Yes, I'll help you. Yes, I'll help you. And oh boy, does that lead to burnout. And so I think having boundaries with people, and um there were people when I started this journey that didn't necessarily respect that, like, going to the gym is my priority, having 2 hours of my Sunday to meal prep and get myself ready for the week and whatever. That's a priority for me, and if that's not something that you can respect, then, that's that boundary, and the boundary is I have to put myself first so that I can feed into all of these other avenues, and so I can tell people stories.
Was
And
that hard for you to set those boundaries, or was this something
yes,
where okay.
boundaries were hard for me. Boundaries are hard. They are hard. But I think on top of just having boundaries with others, having boundaries with myself, and knowing, again, when to say no. Um, not Yeah, boundaries with myself and with others. And it's not easy, and I feel like boundaries, I've been seeing more on, like, social media about people talking about setting boundaries, and I talk about it in counseling and all of this, but um yeah, I mean, it's how
So I've recently heard something called the anxiety cost. Have you ever heard
uh,
of that before?
no.
So an anxiety cost is when you decide not to make a decision. So
Mhm.
in that itself is a decision. Do I have a Pepsi or a Coke?
Mhm.
Okay. Those are two horrible examples, but
Mhm.
I'm just saying, you're having option A and option B. And you decide to say, I don't know. Well, you made a decision to not
Mhm.
make a decision.
Mhm.
And so that time of you not picking A or B
Mhm.
is an anxiety cost
Oh.
because you're not making a decision. Now
Mhm.
you're just waiting on this time where it's like, oh, now I have to make a decision.
Mhm.
So when you decided that you wanted to move forward in your health and weight and mindset journey, was that something that was immediate, or was it something that, you wanted to kind of just, oh, let me think about it. Let me think about it. Did you have an anxiety cost there?
I think it was sudden and gradual at the same time, because at the beginning, I just kept waiting for myself to I was almost like expecting that I would give up.
Why?
So I mentioned history of eating disorders and, Weight Watchers at 10, all of that. And again, many women can probably relate to this. I've literally tried I've been a larger person my whole life, and every diet that you could possibly Google fad diets, every single one I could check off. And guess what? None of them worked. Why didn't they work? So I think that was the decision was, okay, I'm going to do this in a different way. And then I think the gradualness of it was just like, okay, it's been 2 months now. I'm still going. I guess I'm just going to keep going. And you kind of realize one of my mantras has become, you can't fail if you don't quit. So just don't give up. Just keep going.
Can you say that again?
You can't fail if you don't quit.
You can't fail if you don't quit.
Especially
Okay.
when it's self-improvement, because the finish line it's made up. So like you can literally just decide, well, this is my finish line. Okay, well now this is my like you're not it's
So I guess that'll lead to my next question then. So we talked about past Abbie, present Abbie. What do you see for future Abbie? What does that look like when you envision her in another 2 years?
So in another 2 years, just to keep the momentum going for sure. I think I'm at a point now where I had just said, I was kind of waiting for myself to give up on myself. And I, at some point, and could not pinpoint when that happened, but I realized, I'm just not ever going to give up on myself, because this wasn't like a drastic diet that I'm following. This is just like a lifestyle change that I've made. And so it's not like I'm having to stick to something or stay on the wagon. I threw the wagon away. So we don't have a wagon to stay on, because this is just my life now. Like this is just my routine in my life. So there's nothing to give up on, because this is just how I live my life. So I think in the next 2 years, I would really love to get more involved in teaching, especially women, because we're just still fed all of these things about
Jump on this wagon.
Jump on the wagon, and then, the wagon didn't work. We'll try this wagon. And whether it's weight loss or whatever, I mean, I know from experience, because that's what I have experience in is losing weight. And I think I read a study that they did some study, and women spend and don't quote me, but women spend an average of 17 years of their lives dieting. No reason for that.
When you should just create your own wagon.
Correct.
Create your own wagon.
Create your own wagon. Put it on a t-shirt. Absolutely.
Create your own I know you like bumper stickers.
Love bumper
create
stickers.
your own wagon.
Yeah.
So setting goals for yourself, what does that look like for setting future goals? Like, are you do you set goals for yourself?
Absolutely. I think the goals, the way that so I'm a writer, so words matter, and the way that you say things and the way you talk to yourself is so important. And I think that flows into goal setting, because when I set goals, I don't just write a list that says run 5K, lose X amount of pounds, do this. My goals are more so affirmations. I will run a 5K. And I did. I ran my first 5K on June 1st. I will not fail, because I will just keep going. I will really, it's a goal, but it's an affirmation of I am going to do this.
So if you had one summed up sentence, piece of advice for women, what would it be?
I'm stealing it from Sally McRae, who's an ultra marathoner who I love. But she always says, don't quit in the middle. So I think it kind of ties into you can't fail if you don't quit. Don't quit in the middle.
Don't quit in the middle.
Yeah.
I love it. Don't quit in the middle. And those are words from Abbie Pedroti. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what she said. Thank you, Abbie.
Thank you.